Can you please talk a little bit about your research and how you also will talk to, sometimes doctors or people to really get an in-depth analysis of what you're going to be doing within, even if it's just a couple sentences sometimes, or a reaction of something, and just kind of talk about that a little bit.
I will try. That's a huge question. But excellent. Thank you.
Turn the mic to you.
Can I turn? Thank you, John. You are the front man, John.
He's a techno wizard.
I wrote a novel called Kung Fu High School, and one of the things that drove me to write it was an action book. It dealt very heavily in martial arts, and I had been told many times by my agent, by editors, by a bunch of people, don't do it. Don't do it. It can't be done. Martial arts is a visual form. Don't even think about doing it because you can't do it. And I thought, okay. What I did was try to capture the images as clearly as I possibly could. I did a ton of research. I talked to as many martial artists as I possibly could. I even have my notebook right here and just kind of relentlessly cataloging and capturing and finding ways to put that into a broader narrative. And when I was done, I think the thing that I really wanted to get across was the fact that the thing that bothers me about action movies is that people get hurt in them and can keep going. There's no problem. Like Bruce Willis, for example, in any Bruce Willis movie ever, will have no physical problems from knife wounds, gunshots, anything. And so a very good friend of mine is a surgeon, and so I handed him Kung Fu High School, and I said, whatever I did in here that can't be done or wouldn't affect the human body, take it out. Change it. Because I really wanted it to be as real as possible. I think I took a lot of that, this is a very different type of book. The violence is very contained. It wasn't the whole book in either of these, but I still have Billy go through it and make sure that everything happens, and it can and will happen to a human body in that situation. What's more, a very good friend of mine is a former Army Air Corps pilot. One of the most harrowing experiences of my life was really talking with him about his experience in Afghanistan and his experiences in Iraq and how that changed him, as a Black Hawk pilot. And I didn't realize it at the time, but within that next year, I was already working on a book where it's an ex-serviceman, and so much of what we talked about just went right into the character. And it reminded me in a really funny way that a lot of the film noir films that I loved as a kid, 40s and 50s films, the central characters in those films are always World War II veterans, pretty much every time. So in writing a crime book, it just seemed natural to deal with a more recent veteran in a situation.
Cool, thank you. I'm going to jump back to you, Alex.